This is a powerful tool. I'm sure you probably have one or you. Anyway, I, this is also a distraction. Mobile devices of any sort are actually distractions. And the irony in all of this is that these are intentionally built to make our lives easier and more productive and, connect us with loved ones and make us mobile and provide all these advantages that, come at a price. And the price that I know I have failed to evaluate, the cost that is inherent with devices, is the distraction. It's the constant attempt to grab my attention, lock me in to doom scroll on social media, whatever that is. And I mean, we all know what social media is at this point. You're watching a video on social media. You're seeing this on social media, either on YouTube or LinkedIn, because that's where I invest time on social media. And I love my mobile phone. And I'm saying not love as in like, this is an essential part of who I am right now in this day and age for many great reasons. And it is an essential part of the reason why I end up misinvesting time as a leader, because I do get locked into this stuff. I admit that, it's more enjoyable from a dopamine standpoint to scroll through a feed on social media and see what other people are doing or what other people are learning about or discovering or sharing from their personal and professional experiences. The list goes on. But it is not productive in the long run. And being disciplined enough to admit that, hey, this is a distraction and I need to put it down and I need to actually get on with the work that I get paid to do. That understanding and that admission is truly a leadership skill that every one of us should be cultivating and developing and reinforcing on a day-to-day basis, not allowing the devices in our lives to be a distraction from us doing actual productive, focused work. And I mean, this may be a very hard fact. This may be a truth that you are not prepared to confront. And this is the reason why I'm bringing it to you, because if you've followed me for any length of time on social media, you realize that I give you the warts and all reality of the hard stuff that I've been learning over the course of decades in the workforce, and even in my personal life to an extent, although I tend to share less about what I'm doing outside of work, but it's for your benefit. It's for the world's benefit. If I'm going to change the world, and I have really no big grand ambition about changing the world, but if I'm going to influence people to think differently about things, then I've got to be willing to bare my soul and be transparent, floss some, if you will, share what gets me hung up, wrapped around the axle a little bit. And that's a story that I keep telling it's only 5 minutes on LinkedIn. I'm just catching up with what my feed is. And I'm captive to the algorithm because it's just drawing me in and distracting me from the stuff that I really probably need to be focused on. It's disconnecting me from conversations that I probably should be having. It's creating an unnecessary barrier and even an excuse to ignore some things that I know I should be taking time and working on. The fact that I am disciplined enough to have this over here while I'm recording the video is a strong indicator that I am not completely captive to the beauty of the mobility in my hand and the power it has to distract me by my choice. And I think that's the balance. we certainly should be able to use the tools productively, beneficially, that we have in our lives to influence positive outcomes and to achieve goals and to hit targets and to do all the things that we as humans are capable of doing. But also understand that it's double-edged. It is equal parts productive enabler and unneeded distraction. And I'm saying this from the standpoint of you get to pick and choose the apps that you install on your mobile devices and on your laptop and on your desktop and whatever other computing thing, or even beyond that. And there's a whole litany of different things that can end up being a distraction in our lives if we choose to have them be a distraction. And so as a leader, setting an example, certainly admitting that this may be a challenge, but also admitting that you're willing to have a degree of accountability and be responsible to minimize the amount of distraction that the devices in our lives and the tools in our lives and the novelty in our lives can create. That is a powerful leadership behavior that each and every one of us has the ability to cultivate, grow, strengthen, reinforce in our lives. Because once we get a hold of the distractions and we corral them and we time box them and we say, look, for the next 20 minutes, using a thing called the Pomodoro technique, I don't want to be interrupted. And I'm setting the timer and starting, boom. And now I'm in my focus zone. And after that 20-minute time box is done, boom. Hey, cool. I'm on to the next thing. And picking and choosing how and when and to what degree we allow distraction to creep in. That is the thing that we as leaders need to be willing to do for ourselves and to encourage the people around us who are looking to us for guidance and direction and a behavior pattern. And ultimately being the model example of what it means to minimize the distractions in our lives. And by the way, dirty secret, sometimes meetings can be a distraction as well. Nothing, there many meetings, not all meetings, but many meetings, even a few meetings. Okay, some meetings, I want to be very generous in this. Some meetings are not a distraction. Well, okay. Anyway, meetings can be a distraction from actual productive work being performed. And I probably ought to share a lesson learned about meetings. In fact, that will probably be the next topic that I cover in this series of life lessons learned, brought to you by Tim Unscripted. Try to avoid the distractions, my friends.